Right, guys, gentlemen. We're going to have a 1, 2, 3.
Hello? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so between Chamishi and the end of the Sedra, we find twice. Shlomi.
AJ.
Klal Yisrael complaining about lack of water. Complaining about lack of water. Okay, so 3 days after Kriyas Yam Suf, that is the Nisan. And Hashem sorted them out with the Morah. Then the 16th of Iyar, they complained no. And Rosh Chodesh Sivan, they came to Har Sinai. So in between the 16th of Iyar and a place called Refidim. So for the third time in the Sedra, they complained. They complained. So it's even the second half of the Sedra. Okay, it says V'ein ma'im lishtos ha'am. Okay. So they complain to Moshe Rabbeinu, and Hashem tells him, go and take a stick, take the matter, take the stick, and I'll be there by the rocks. And it says V'hikisa batsur. You can hit any rock you want. They can ask you to do any rock. Any rock will do. You hit the rock, v'yotzu mimenu mayim v'shosa ha'am. Water will come out and the people will drink. Vayaskei Moshe le'nei ziknei Yisrael. And Moshe did it in front of the elders of the Zakanim. So they call the place Masa Meriva, because again they tested out Hashem. But this time, very interesting. It says what they were saying. Very interesting. It says, this is what they said. Hayesh Hashem b'kirbeinu im oyin. Is Hashem really with us, looking after us? Which sounds a very strange thing to say, because you've got clouds around you. You've got clouds around you. A few weeks ago you complained about the water, you got your water. You complained about the no food, no bread, you got meat and you got bread. You got everything. So why would Hashem stop looking after you? Why all of a sudden are they thinking, is Hashem really here looking after us? So it could be when you're in the desert and the water stops, you panic. It could be. Maybe we don't understand what it's like to be somewhere. Or, more likely, they understood you need to have zuchusim to get nisim. Open nisim, you need a lot of zuchusim. Maybe they didn't feel they had those zuchusim. That's probably more likely. So you do, then you really panic, because you know you've got nothing to pay with. So here's the question. First question tonight. The first rock which Moshe Rabbeinu was told to get water from for the Yidden, he was told to hit it. So why 39 years later, the second time it happened, he was told speak to the rock? Why did it change? Why did it change from hitting the rock now, 39 years later, speak to the rock? They're both miracles. They're both miraculous. Why the second time was he not told to hit the rock? What would you say, William the Conqueror? What would you say? Marty, what do you say?
I think, because you have one day,
so you spread it, you spread the nace. Show the nace in another way.
Someone tells you, go to upside out, we'll go into your ticket. Go to upside out, ticket's gone. Next time, you go to murder. Go to upside out.
Ah, okay. Okay. So it's a bit like Marlin Bakodesh, yeah? Because Baruch elevates it. Could be. So I heard a wonderful pshat. It's a Goynish pshat. It's very good. And he said like this: how long have they been out of Mitzrayim? How long have they been out? 5 weeks, 6 weeks. In Mitzrayim, if you disobeyed a Mitzri, what did you get? You got a stick on your head or a whip on your head. if a mystery wanted you to do something, he would come over to you with a club and say you do it or else. And that's how they lived for many, many years. So that doer understood the musag, with a stick you do as you're told. So therefore the nace was done with a stick. 39 years later, that doer was dead. A new doer had grown up, they'd never seen this way of listening. So then Hashem said you have to speak to the rocks, a different approach in chinuch to this doer. Right? You can't hit a generation which doesn't understand that concept of chinuch. It's brilliant, it's brilliant. So therefore Kosh Baruch said to that doer, who've been very, very pampered in the midbar and grown up more naturally to do as you're told to do, but not in a way of coercion, Kosh Baruch said you must speak to the rock. They need to see that type of nace, that when you're spoken to, you listen to what you're told. They need that. To hit them, they won't understand it. Goinish. Brilliant. Now, but because they questioned the Hashgacha Pratis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent them a punishment, Eli, which showed them that was their problem. What happened? Amalek came. Amalek came. And this is the first time the Jews now have to arm themselves and go and fight. Now, whether it looked like Dad's army or not, you imagine it did. Yeah? Fjordian, whatever. We'll see in a minute who could go in this army. It wasn't anybody who could join this army. But Rashi brings a chazal, amazing, amazing chazal. Again, it's another wonderful lesson in chinuch. He gives a mashal. A father took his son on his shoulders and took him to the market. And the son sees over there, he says, Dad, can I have a candy floss? Gets him a candy floss. Carry on with it. He says, Dad, can I have a cold Coke? Gets him a cold Coke. Dad, can I have some fustock? What's it? Pistachios, yeah? He gets him some pistachios. Everything he asks for, he gets it. He goes and treats him. And as they're walking along, he sees his father's friend coming along. And as they reach each other, he says to him, have you seen my dad anywhere? Do you know where my dad is? And his father looks up and says, what do you mean, where am I? Who's been treating you the last hour in this market? He says, his father said, I'll show you where I am. Takes him, throws him on the floor. Where he threw him, there was a dog nearby, got a shock, and the dog bit the kid. And then he screamed, Dad, where are you? Said HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I've spoilt you. I gave you clouds, I gave you water, I gave you food, I gave you everything. And you're still doubting, am I here looking after you? I'll show you where I am. Threw them down, took away the clouds, and while they came and bit them, and boy oh boy, did they realize Hashem was protecting them. So now again, the whole way through this Sedra in Bishalach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying the nice approach. They've not lifted a finger. Gone through the desert, complain once or twice, but they've not lifted a finger. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not spoiling them, but he's treating them and treating them. They got the goal, they got the gout, they got everything. But the problem is, you get overspoiled. It's a Messias. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, right, I've tried the nice way, it's not succeeded, we'll have to do it the other way now. Out to the front, out to the battlefield, and you'll soon see the miracles are going on in war. Clients will go out to war, and you'll learn your lesson. Sometimes you've got to let your kids do it themselves. You've got to like a kid who learns to walk. You toddler, you let go and he falls. In fact, there's a great joke on this, fantastic joke. There's this boy called Jaime sitting on the top bunk. And his dad said, come on Jaime, it's time to go to school. So his father says, Jaime, jump and I'll catch you. Just jump off the bed, I'll catch you. He goes, no daddy, you'll drop me. He said, trust me Jaime, trust me. Just jump and I'll catch you. It's only a second bunk. He said, no daddy, I'll fall, you'll let go, you'll fall. He said, Jaime, trust me. So he said, okay daddy. And he jumps and his father moves out of the way and he falls. So he said, Daddy, you said trust me. Jaime, thou teach, don't trust anybody. Right? But the Kosh Baruch is not like that, yeah? The Kosh Baruch it really works. But, right? So Klais had to learn. You just have to do it, right? I heard a beautiful mashal. How does a caterpillar turn into a butterfly? Anyone know? Yeah? What happens, Ali? Go on, tell us what happens. Right? It gets a nice gold ring and it hides inside it. Yeah? The caterpillar, it goes into a cocoon of some sort. Inside, it actually dies. It's like Tchis Mason. This is actually one of the Makoros, a dogma of Tchis Mason in this world. And it then develops into a butterfly. And then it starts to force its way out of the cocoon. And once it opens up, it flies off. So this guy watching this phenomenon. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Oh, thank you, Ellie. So this guy watching the butterfly trying to open up the cocoon, whatever it is, and he feels sorry for it. He's got to poor butterfly. He's got to push it. Johnny, right? So he sees, he's watching, and he thinks, you know what? I'm going to have Rahmanos on the butterfly, and with his fingers, he opens up the cocoon to let it out. But it couldn't fly. It never flew. The butterfly can never fly. Why? It strengthens its wings as it pushes it open, and only then, when it's fully open with his wing, by his wings, can he fly away. So you want your kids to grow up and fly away. But if you pamper them, they'll never develop the wings to fly away. He said sometimes you've got to let them do the hard way, and it hurts. It really hurts. You want to give your kids everything, but you're not having Rahmanos on. You're not doing them a favour. And help them as much as you can, but you've got to let them develop. You mustn't stifle them in their development, because the one day they're going to fly away, right? They might end up in Australia, wherever it is, wherever they're going to fly away. Yes, Marty?
You've got to be careful, because Jerry Green was watching this. Time's getting very upset.
Is he?
I'm not giving the children.
Is Uncle Joe watching? Is he watching? He's not, he will. Uncle Joe, I'll just tell you the great thought you said. If you want the brass, you have to graft. That was it. It's
Right, Jerry?
Right?
This kind of like he's grafting.
This one. Okay. So now, so Amalek comes along. Now I'm going to tell you something amazing now. It's so beautiful. So Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't go himself. Quite incredible. He chooses Yoshua, and there's a reason for that. There's about 10 reasons given in the Medrash. One was, Yoshua is going to have to learn how to fight when they go to Eretz Yisrael. So he needs job practice. He needs work experience, they call it now. Yeah? He has to learn how to run an army to go and fight the enemies of Klal Yisrael. So he sent Yoshua, go and learn the ropes now. Another reason was Moshe couldn't fight Amalek because he wasn't from Rachel. Amalek can only fall into the hands of Rachel, the descendants of Rachel. Yoshua was from Yosef, so he could go. But listen to this. Vayomer Moshe Yoshua, B'char lonu anoshim. Choose hand-picked soldiers, v'tzei hilachim ba'Amalek, and go and fight with Amalek. He says, Macha, tomorrow, Anochi Nitzav Arosh Akiv, I'll stand on the top of the hill, Umatzeh Elikim Biyadi, with a stick in my hand. What's B'char lonu anoshim? So Rashi says like this. B'char lonu anoshim, Giborim, strong soldiers, v'yirei chait, God-fearing soldiers, shetehei zechuson b'sayoson, so their zechus should protect them. That's the first reason. How did you know who was a Yirei Chait in the desert? A God-fearing person. How could you tell in the desert? By the mon. If the mon fell at your doorstep, you knew he was a tzaddik. So why did they have to be Giborim? If it fell by the door, if a guy wasn't a tzaddik, it didn't. If a guy was not well, of course, Baruch had Rachmanos on him, and it fell by his door. So they had to be Giborim, physically strong, so they're not ill, and only then is the mon approved that they're Yirei Chait. Because if they'd be ill, it could be Hashem's have Rachmanos because they're not feeling well, they're not well. So that's to be Giborim and Yirei Chait. Now, that's chat number one.
Call it a sickie.
The sickie, that's right, yeah. Little sickie, yeah. So then the Rashi brings another pshat. They know how to knock out kishuf. Why? Amalek used to fight with kishuf, so there had to be soldiers, select soldiers who knew what they were doing, how to negate the kishuf of Amalek. Now this is brilliant. It says that, I saw the Chizkuni and I found it here, it's the Medrash. Because of this kishuf business, you could only join the army to fight Amalek if you were born in Adar Sheni. Shaggy, why do you have to be born in Adar Sheni? You could only go out to fight Amalek if you were born in Adar Sheni. So it explains the Chizkuni, because Kishuv works on the mazel. And there's only 12 mazolas. Adar Sheni has no mazel. So therefore they're the shlamazels. They were the real shlamazels. Yeah, they had no mazel. And therefore Kishuv of Amalek couldn't work. So it's hand-picked soldiers. Listen to this. There's no mazel. My mazel yeshlo. Dagim, Adorishin.
You know Ginger's born in Abashani.
Yeah? Oh?
Because I'm born out
Did
the
you?
lottery. I was born out of Shane and I won the lottery. £2.50.
You're a Schlemazel. You're a Schlemazel if you want to shady. Schlemazel.
That's not Schlemazel.
Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshert, when Haman, who was using Kishuf, came out with a goal on the 13th of Adar, how did Mordechai knock it out? He was the head of the Sanhedrin. He made an Ibiyah. He made an Adasheni. He pushed off everything. All the Mazal, he pushed it off. So once he got into Adasheni, he knew he could do something about it because he'd got it out of the realm of power of Amalek to use Kishav against Klal Yisrael again. He got it pushed off into Adasheni. That's why he's all stressing in the Megillah. L'chodesh shneim asar u'chodesh Adar. What's it excluded? What's it pointing out? That year there was an Adasheni. And that's how Mordechai was able to negate it. Unbelievable piece. Okay. So then, Moshe does what he was told to do. Yeshua went out. Now, why did he say Mocha? Go and fight tomorrow. Now the thing is, actually, Chazal say he shouldn't have done this. He shouldn't have done this. He should have gone straight away. So why? And also, Chazal say Moshe lifts his hands. Klal Yisrael got stronger. He puts his hands down. So Chazal say, what's that got to do with the price of cheese? So Chazal say, when Moshe had his hands up, everyone was looking to Shamayim and thinking about Kodesh Baruch Hu, they got stronger. When they stopped thinking, it drops. So you see, this was a war which is not really fought with weapons. So Moshe made it to show this is not a usual war. The fight against Amalek is a fight of Emunah. Do you believe in Hashgacha Pratis or not? He said, fight tomorrow. If it's military tactics, you go immediately, you don't wait. To show them that this is not, the fight against Amalek is not a physical fight. He said, Macha. He pushed it off a day to show this is not a regular struggle. This fight is not a regular struggle. Now, Chazal say, now, he called him Yehoshua. But we know he called him Yehoshua with the Meraglim. Vayikra Moshe LaHoshea B'nun Yehoshua. Kol Yehoshua Chamas. Hashem should say it from the plans of the Meraglim. But it says, the Ramban says, but here, before the Meraglim, he's already calling him Yehoshua. So the Ramban says, he called him earlier Yehoshua, and Moshe Rabbeinu had in mind, he knew something's going to happen in the future where he's going to need this bracha of Kol Yoshiacha. So why was... About the same answer, yeah. So the question is, why was Moshe Rabbeinu thinking now already about going into Eretz Yisrael and Yeshua taking them in and had to be there to be careful because the Atzas Meraglim? Says the Ksav, I think it's Ksav Sofer. He said because Moshe said Mocha, Chazal say that's why Moshe Rabbeinu didn't go into Eretz Yisrael. One of the reasons why he didn't go in was because he should have done it straight away, and he delayed. So because of that, it's a medrash. So therefore, already then he felt he wasn't going in, and Yeshua would be taking them in. So Moshe Rabbeinu was margish. He didn't know exactly what, didn't know, but he was margish enough to change his name. He had a heritage that Yeshua needs this bracha, and history then it played out. We understood what was going on. It was a tefillah to help him and get him into Eretz Yisrael. What? Yeah. Now, he says, they didn't wipe out Amalek, they weakened them. So why didn't they wipe them out? If you do a job, do it properly, you know? That's the rule in life. So why didn't they finish them off? The answer is, the mitzvah of wiping out Amalek is in Eretz Yisrael. It's a mitzvah in Eretz Yisrael. There are 3 mitzvahs when they got there, 3 big communal mitzvahs. You appoint a king, you build a base of Mikdash, and you wipe out Amalek. It's a mitzvah to Ba'aretz. It's very interesting. Yeah. So they didn't want to finish them off now because then they'd lose the mitzvah in Eretz Yisrael. But Rashi says, what's this Vayachalosh? So Rashi says they killed the officers of the army of Amalek. He says, Chotzach Roshi Giboirov. V'lo Hishe only left behind Chaloshim Shebahem. V'lo Horogom Kulam. Didn't kill all of them. Mikan Anu Lemeid. Here we learn She'asra Al Pi Adibur Shel Shechina. That's what they were commanded to do. Now, I'll tell you something interesting. In Eretz Yisrael, when the Chevra from Gaza or the West Bank start causing trouble, so the Israelis have a policy called targeted assassinations. And they go dafka for the heads of Hamas. They only target their heads. So I used to think to myself, what's the point? But when I saw this Rashi, Itaka works. When you take out the leaders, Itaka makes them weaker. The attacker can't finish them off. That's not the cheshbon. But it seems to be killing the leaders, and it's a warning for the next lot. Be careful, don't become leaders because they'll get it. It also takes out their chain of command because the leaders are out of the way. But you see, there's a cheshbon, it does weaken them to a certain extent, this killing the leaders of the enemy. You see here, clearly, it does that job. Now, just to finish off with a beautiful, beautiful thought from the Kesaf Sofer. So go back to the Mon, which we've been learning all week. He said, he brings the Chazal, some Mechilta, Lo nitna Torah ela la'ochlei hamon. The Torah is only given to those who ate the Mon, because they were free from the oil of Panosa, so they had all day to learn. So learning the Torah la'ochlei hamon. So ask the Kesaf Sofer, wonderful kasha. He said, hold on a minute, had he gone to plan that they got the Torah, gone straight to Eretz Yisrael, and there's no Mon in Eretz Yisrael, they'll be living off the Paris of Eretz Yisrael. So how can we say, the Torah doesn't make sense, yeah? The Torah is meant to be kept and learned in Eretz Yisrael very, very quickly in the near future, in Sivan or Tammuz, they should have been there. It doesn't mean it was only given to those who ate Mon. He said, what did the Mon teach you? So the Mon has a lesson to it, that really, 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 when it comes to Panosa, you do nothing. You go and pick it up. You go and pick up the what's been allocated. But we saw in the Mon, no one could fool themselves in the desert, I do anything for Panosa. You just couldn't do it. A, he did nothing, and B, it turned up out of the blue. So you see, the Mon was a time in history where you couldn't fool yourself and say, you just couldn't do it. Couldn't do
That
it.
was only for their food, not for their money.
Where there was Panosa, that was their food, everything came down with the
They
Mon.
had all their money, they had all the gold.
But it was useless, what can you do with it?
One thing, I mean, you need to also have...
Well, you can have all the gold.
No, but you
Do you know one of the Rothschilds died in his treasury? You know that? Famous story, yeah, it closed on him, they didn't know where he was, and he died there with all his gold and silver around. Doesn't help. Some say that's why Hashem took them 3 days with no water to show them, all that gold and silver in the sea get you nowhere. So, says the Kesaf Sofer, that's what the Gemara means. Doesn't mean those who physically ate the Mon. The Torah is only given to them. He said the lesson of the Mon, if that's preserved for all generations, where you realise you really do nothing, it's all beyond Hashem, if you can live like the Ochlei Hamon understood, he said the Torah is given to you, you'll keep the Torah. Because you know Hashem's in charge. I don't need to fiddle and diddle. I don't need to spend my whole life travelling to Hong Kong. You don't need to do it. You learn from the Mon. You don't need to work so hard. You don't need to put so much effort in. You understand. You do your little bit. You go out of your house. It's your duty. It's your responsibility for your family and everything else. You can do it. And you pick up what's been allocated to you. You can't be lazy. It's not licensed to be lazy. He said, but the point is, it's the lesson of the Mon. That's the Torah. He said that throughout history is what Chazal mean. He said, and that is the only way how it works. Now we talked yesterday. Well, I was asking everybody, where's he gone so pear-shaped? How is it so few people today have got this bitachon? Have you ever met anybody who's a real mistapik b'mut? Have you ever met anyone? Have you ever met anyone? You might have read in the storybooks, you know what I mean? Shlomo of Seville, yeah, everyone likes telling lovely stories of Shlomo of Seville. Or the Divrei Chaim of Sands, that never left a penny in the house overnight. And things like that. You know, you feed him though. So where's it all gone pear-shaped? So Johnny last night said a very good suggestion. Johnny said, when the head of Klal Yisrael, in days gone by where there weren't so many attractions and distractions, so the natural Jewish neshama came out and understood it's all in the hands of Hashem. He said, today we're so bombarded, he called it, what is it, Johnny, the zombie generation. What do you call it, Johnny, yeah? We're so, our minds are so far away, we don't lock in. We don't lock into the hashkafas of the Torah. Which I think is a very, very good pshat, Johnny. I said I'll say it over in your name, I promise you. Right? But there's another thing as well. There's a Mishnah. The Mishnah says when the second base of Migdash was destroyed, it says, Posku Anshe Amona. People with true Amunah stopped. And this is the point. You need an atmosphere of Kedusha, which we had when we had the base of Migdash, for people to rise to these very high levels. And once we lost it, and we're out in Golus, maybe it's impossible. To reach these peak levels, only Yechidim can do it. Yechidim school attack and reach it. But en masse, it could be we're just not able to reach that far. So therefore, we don't. But at least the musig is that we should know at least the heart of hearts. Ultimately, it's not me. Now I used to have a bit of a pastime. I used to go around asking big property boys, tell me some stories of Mosin in business. You must have seen Mosin. And I'll tell you, it was incredible. Each one had a similar theme, and they said like this: the projects we worked on the most were least successful, and the ones we did the least were most successful. It's unbelievable. They all said the same thing in different stories, different things. One guy told me, unbelievable story. He said he was driving past one of these industrial estates, and he saw it said 1.11 acres of area. So he phoned up, and the price was not bad. So he bought it. When he got the blurb and he got the actual papers and all the paperwork came through, it was 11.1. The decimal point was in the wrong place. It was 10 times bigger than he thought. So he said, I didn't know. It was 10 times bigger than I thought. So that was one. He told me another one, another good story. He said he's sitting in his office and he gets a phone call from an agent. There's a bid going on for 6 commercial properties. Do you want to bid for them? So he was not interested. He wasn't interested at all. So he ignored it. The agent calls back an hour later. He said, do you want a bid? You know, the bid's about to complete. So he said, not being interested, he gave him 6 silly figures. He said, stupid figures. Absolutely stupid figures. The agent calls back an hour later. You got all 6. There was no one else bidding. He was the only one. He was the only one. He said, I did nothing. He said, my 2 biggest Hatzlachos came. I did nothing. I was trying to push it away. He said, and it happened. Unbelievable thing. So that's the Nakuda. The Nakuda, we just get in the way. That's the problem. We get in the way. Coach Baruch was looking. Now I'll tell you something. Right? I asked David Hammelberger once. I was in his office, and it was sacrifice of Mishalach. So he said to me, Sholom, he says, do you know why the mom was such a good system? Because it came directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to your doorstep. There was no agents in between messing it up for you. He said to me, that's why it was such a perfect system. He said, because that's, when it goes from Hashem to you, it works. Right? And he had stories galore. It was brilliant. I could have schmoozed him for hours and hours and hours on end. But that's the point. The lesson of the Mon is keep out of Hashem's way and let him deliver it to you. Right? And it'll come. Right? Don't get in the way. Or we get in the way when we think it's us. Hashem has no choice. He's got to remind us it's not you, and it is an impediment to Hatzlacha. If we learn the lesson of the Mon, that's the key. That's the key to Hatzlacha. Just to finish off with one little thing about Avas Chesed, I forgot to bring it. The next Chesed is, he says, lending out items, your lawnmower, your hedge cutters, lending out things which can be a benefit to people. So he said, now, he gave a list of things. It could be a pen. Someone needs a pen. You don't realize it's an act of Chesed. It's a deraisa. Mitzvah deraisa to lend it out more, 3 or 4 deraisas. From even insignificant things. So I thought to myself, as I was reading it, what if someone asks you, can I borrow your car?
Well, ask him that.
What do you do? What do you do? Let's say they're insured. Let's say they are insured. But the mice, at the end of the day, is it's. I don't know. Are you going to go so far? Is it too personal?
Too much can go wrong.
Too much can go wrong with. Then you have Charotzi, you did it, so you won't get any mitzvah anyway. I think so. It's the same idea. It's beyond. It's off the radar. It's off the radar. It makes sense. It doesn't make sense. I couldn't bring a ride for it. I was thinking, it doesn't make sense. That's right. And then they get yeah. So l'chayra, you don't have to. It's a bit like actually lending. You only obliged to lend if he's got security. You don't have to lend it willy-nilly. So you can see you can secure your loan. So with a car, just because it's insured, I'll give you a dog what happened to me. Shefa's little car park. And all of a sudden I hear a thud. A car came from the shops opposite Shefa, came out of the back alleyway. She didn't have her lights on. So I couldn't see her. And they made contact, so she smashed a little car, I had my Volvo. So she got a gazunta bash, I got another bump, so I joined the queue on the back of the thing. And I called the insurance, and they said, we're going to go 50-50. So I said, well, you know something, I then got the chef to send the video from their CCTV to show she had no lights on. So I can't be expected to see her. I said, by law, the reason why you have to travel your lights on is not to see, it's to be seen. It affected me, yeah. Do you think they came to who's? They accepted full responsibility. I lost 2 years on my no claims, and then when they were surprised when I said I'm not carrying on with you next year, they said why not? I said you didn't care about me. I said I sent you a video clip which showed she didn't have the lights on, so there's no tomato on me for not seeing her reversing out. So that was it. But you see, with cars, these things happen. The mice, these things happen, and then it ends up very sticky afterwards. So anything which you're going to have charot on afterwards, you don't do it. You mustn't do it because if you have charot on a mitzvah, you lose it. So you did no mitzvah, you got the agros nefesh, you got the aggro, you probably fall out with the guy, never speak to him again. It's not worth it. As a cheshbon, you don't have to make. But little things, you'd be surprised. Providing little things, whether the guy who provides the hankies or any little communal thing, a little chesed, you'd be surprised. The coffee, the Pepsi, the Diet Pepsi, the milk, yeah.
The cups.
Oh, you arranged it.
The cups.
The cups.
The cups, you need it.
Right, every little thing. Right, think about it. 100 cups. How much you got? 99p, 79p. 100 gemelas chasodim. Yeah, think about that. Yeah, we talked about Avraham Avinu. One chesed with the malachim who didn't need it, and he never even brought the bread to the table. What was the reward in this world? Millions of people got bread every day for 40 years from half an act of chesed of Avraham Avinu. Incredible. So 100 cups for people who need the cups and use the cups, and of course leave it on the floor or leave it out for somebody else to tidy up. Right? He said it's opportunities we shouldn't miss. Okay, guys, let's go.
And